Well, hey there, folks. You know, after nearly 40 years of marriage, there comes a point where your wife looks at you and says, "You know what? I think I could mow the yard." Now, most husbands hear that and think, "Well, ain't that nice?" But me, I heard today may end with insurance paperwork. And folks, that right there is how Memorial Day weekend officially began around our house. Well, welcome back, folks, to the One Eyed Podcast, where the coffee's strong, the mower blades are sharp, and common sense is mostly considered a suggestion. I'm your host, Rock Lozano, but my friends call me Pappy. Now, today's episode is special because this ain't just about mowing grass. No, sir. This is about marriage, trust, fear, patriotism, and a woman named Susie who's trying to operate a machine that can spin in circles faster than my Uncle Leroy after 2 funnel cakes in a patriotic parade. You know, Memorial Day always feels different. There's just something about it. The flags come out and neighbors fire up grills and kids ride bicycles. People wave from porches again. And for just a little while, America slows down. Just enough to remember not just the soldiers we lost, but the people we miss. The summers we used to have, dads who taught us things, and grandpas who sat quietly in lawn chairs while everybody else talked. Memorial Day's just funny that way. It reminds you that freedom ain't free, but neither are the little moments. The ones of those little moments this year, well, for us, was apparently my wife deciding that she wanted to learn to drive a zero-turn mower. Oh, Lord, help us all.
Now, folks, Susie is a wonderful woman. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's compassionate. But up until this point, the largest piece of lawn equipment she's ever operated was probably a vacuum cleaner with an attitude. So imagine my surprise when she walks outside carrying iced tea, looks at my mower, and says, "Well, that doesn't look hard." Now, gentlemen, you ever hear a sentence that immediately causes your blood pressure to rise? Because that one right there, hit me like a Vietnam flashback. So I start giving instructions. Now, if you own a zero turn, you already know this ain't really a mower. It's basically a land missile with cup holders. And I said, "All right now, these handles control the wheels." And she said, "Okay, I see that. Yep. And I said, "You push both forward to go forward." And she says, "Okay, yeah, I see that. That makes sense." And I said, "And you pull one back and one forward and you'll spin." And folks, that smile she got, well, that was not reassuring. So she climbs aboard, adjusts the seat, puts both hands on the controls, and immediately looks more confident than I felt. Now, right about then, well, Earl pulls into the driveway. And that man rolled his window down so slow, you'd have thought he smelled danger. And Earl says, "What's going on here?" And I said, "Well, Susie's learning the zero turn." And there was some long silence. And then Earl said, "Did you notify the neighbors?" Now, folks, I want you to picture this carefully, because time slowed down. Susie pushed the handles forward gently, and the mower eased ahead smooth as butter. And I thought, well, I'll be doggone. She's got this. Then she accidentally nudged one handle harder than the other. And that mower spun around so fast I briefly saw Tamara. And Earl jumped back and I spilled coffee on my boots. And I know one squirrel abandoned Nebraska entirely. And Susie, well, she was laughing. Not nervous laughing. Oh, no. The kind of laughing people do when they discover unexpected power. Now, fellas, There's a moment in every marriage where a husband realizes he may have accidentally created competition. And as I watched my wife drift around the yard like a NASCAR driver avoiding taxes, I thought, well, now there goes my excuse to buy another mower. But truthfully, folks, watching her out there, smiling and learning something new, it hit me. That's part of what keeps life beautiful. Not just surviving together, growing together, still trying things, still laughing, still learning, even after all these years. And naturally, right when things settle down, well, here comes Jerry. And Jerry says, "Hey, Pappy, you got a weed eater with some string?" And I said, "Jerry, we're busy." And Jerry takes a look out at the yard and says, "Is Susie mowing?" And I said, "She's learning." And Jerry says, "Well, that's smart." And then he's thinking for a little bit, and then he says, "My wife learned once, and now I ain't mowed in 6 years." Now, this little time right now, I'd like to have a Memorial Day reflection. There's something deeply American about mowing grass on Memorial Day weekend. I can't explain it. Maybe it reminds us we still take pride in home, in neighborhoods, in ordinary things. Maybe it's because generations before us fought so that we could enjoy peaceful little moments exactly like this. Cold drinks, warm evenings, flags waving, family laughing in the yard. That's the good stuff. Well, folks, it's time once again for Pappy's Practical Corner, the part of the show where we try to keep you entertained while also preventing at least one emergency room visit and 2 arguments before supper. And today's topic is zero-turn safety for beginners. Tip 1, always start slow. A zero-turn mower responds faster than gossip at a church potluck. Tip 2, keep hands relaxed. If you panic, that mower is liable to draw crop circles in your yard. Tip 3, watch for trees, flower beds, garden gnomes, and husbands standing too close pretending to supervise. And for the love of all things holy, don't attempt sharp turns while holding sweet tea. But truthfully, folks, there's something kind of nice about teaching somebody how to do things like this. Because one day, without even realizing it, the jobs become memories. The driveway conversations become stories. And before long, you ain't really remembering the mowing itself. You're remembering who was standing beside you while it all happened. And besides, if Susie keeps getting this good on that mower, I may finally get promoted from yard worker to guy holding the lemonade. Well, folks, that's this week's Pappy's Practical Corner. A little bit of practical advice mixed with just enough experience to keep life interesting. Now, let's get back to the show before Earl convinces Susie she needs racing stripes on the mower. Now, here's the part that bothered me, folks. She got good, real good. Straight lines, perfect turns, no scalping the grass. Meanwhile, I've been mowing for years, and my yard still occasionally looks like a drunken goat trimmed it. And while Earl and I was standing on the sidelines watching Susie mow, he says, "Hey, Pappy." And I says, "Yeah." He says, "You realize she's better at this than you already." And I said, "Earl, you are dangerously close to walking home." Now, when you get older, you start realizing something. The best memories usually aren't expensive. They're ordinary days. Teaching somebody something or laughing in the driveway, talking while the sun starts going down. And before you know it, those little moments become the things you remember most. And now it's time for a Memorial Day heart moment. Now, Memorial Day reminds us not to take any of it for granted. The freedom, the family, the laughter, and the peace. Somebody paid dearly for all that. And maybe one of the best ways we honor that sacrifice is by truly appreciating the life we've been given. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm still not entirely comfortable watching my wife whip donuts around my lawn at 11 miles an hour while smiling like she's in a parade. But I will admit this, she looked happy. And after all these years together, that's still one of my favorite things to see. You know, folks, sometimes happiness sneaks into life quietly, not through big vacations or giant milestones. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of a warm Memorial Day weekend, standing beside somebody you love, watching them learn something new. And maybe that's the real reminder this weekend brings. Life is precious. Time is precious. The people entrusted to us, well, they're very precious. So laugh together, teach each other things, wave the flag proudly, eat too much barbecue, call somebody you miss. And if you happen to teach your wife how to drive a zero-turn mower, well, maybe stand a little further back than I did. Well, folks, thanks for spending part of your Memorial Day weekend here with me on the One Eye Podcast. Now, this week we learned, number one, being willing to teach someone something new can turn an ordinary afternoon into a memory you'll laugh about for years. Number two, be aware of standing too close to a zero-turn mower being operated by a confident wife with absolutely no fear. Number three, appreciate the simple blessings of freedom, family, laughter, and the ordinary little moments that make a house feel like a home. Now, if today's episode made you smile or brought out a chuckle, then by all means share this episode with someone who could use a laugh today. They'll be forever grateful that you did. You know, my pappy used to tell me, when we learn to laugh, we learn to heal. And in the most amazing part of our week or day, someone hearing you laugh or seeing that smile might just be the cog in the wheel that gets it all started. And there's no higher service than passing on a better demeanor to others. Trust me. And so always remember to be kind to one another, if only because you can be. And we all can be always. So until next time, remember to care for those that have been entrusted to you. God bless our wives for showing us up to all our neighbors because us husbands taught them so well. God bless the joy our instructions bring forth to enlightening others to new life experiences. And God bless the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for our freedom, have served or are personally serving this great country of ours. You are each true heroes to so many. Pappy out.